Okay,
I'm gonna
good.
get into it. First, let me say you look great. You know, you're the most beautiful. I watched your video with Lisa, and you are the most beautiful girl in non-duality in the world today.
You're
So
so
that's
funny,
out of the
Jerry.
way. I got that. And Lisa's beautiful. I like Lisa. But I'm naming you according to my authority, which I do have in the world of non-duality.
The thing
So
is,
that you
Jerry,
are.
everyone can only stand in its own authority. You cannot take any authority from anybody else. So even your authority is doubtful.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, you cannot lean on any one teacher, no? You have to stand on your own ground.
Yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Okay, go
All
on.
right, no, you're
Start,
right. You're
start,
right.
start your question.
Authority is really a great place to start. The only place I want to start is that this is a series of interviews I'm doing really for people that want to start their own groups, non-duality
Exactly.
groups, kind of like
Yeah.
independent non-duality groups. That's basically it. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Let's talk about authority because if you're starting that group, you have to have a certain amount of authority. At the same time, you have to give it up.
Exactly. I mean, that is what I liked from your last radio show with James and Maya who came in.
Yeah.
Maya saying that everyone has its own dharma and has to speak actually from that. So that is what you try to give to the people, not to depend on any one teacher, not to depend on books and videos, but to stand in their own authority. And I think these meetup groups are excellent for that because it's not centered at any one specific teacher. You try to make people comfortable and at ease, and at the same time give them the confidence to speak from their own truth. And it's beautiful to see that it happens when the space is there. It's sometimes beautiful what comes up in the meetup groups.
When the space is there, what do you mean by
Yeah.
that? Just elaborate on that a little bit. You say when the space is there. How is the space allowed or, pointed to
Well,
or what?
I'm using this in the sense that if there is a satsang with one teacher, you have after the talk from the teacher, question and answers. And the seeker asks the question and the teacher answers. There is no space to for the people in the audience to find what they kind of come to and speak it out. There is not the space for that because it's always only the direction towards the teacher. And in the meetup group, what we try to do is to have the space for people to speak out when they feel there is something to say. It's not that they have to keep quiet because only the teacher knows the answer. The answers come from themselves. And that is usually when insights are happening. So that is actually very beautiful.
Yeah, it really takes an effort. I don't know if it's an effort, but I think with you and with DJ probably it's kind of your own natural way to not come across as the authoritative teacher, so that space is made available.
But don't you have the same in your group then, in Halifax?
I'm not talking to you. I'm wondering a little because we have people several people who speak as teachers, but when they do, they always kind of give it up. They always qualify by saying, don't believe what I say.
Yeah.
This is just my view. And I think James is good at that. James did that on the radio show. I asked him, what did I ask him? I asked him his first question, and I asked him, what is an independent non-duality group? What does that mean? He says, well, this is just my opinion. So I think when you do that, then you kind of allow space. That's one way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to start. Excellent.
So that's important. That's a good guideline. People are asking me like guidelines. A couple of people are asking for guidelines on how to run a group like this, and I mean that is a guideline right there. But it's not something like you have a list of them. You probably
No,
have them, but you've never written them down or listed them. I don't
no, we
think.
don't really have a list of guidelines. I wouldn't know. I think it depends also on the people who are attending. Like in Auroville, in our group, there are many who have been on the non-dual path since many years or decades. So it's not that they don't know. But because of the space in the group, the knowledge they have, which is maybe mental or kind of conceptual, can kind of sink down, and then they come out with it on a more deeper level, which makes more sense. It's more non-separative. No, it's more with the energy of non-duality instead of only with the words.
Oh, that's good. And again, on this guidelines thing, I think a guideline was given, to regarding the space.
Yeah.
What were your words? Allow the space or something. So, I guess what I'm trying to do is as I hear you say things, I'm going to maybe turn them into guidelines because that's what people want. But I don't know if you need them. I don't know if you need them. I interviewed. Maybe it was your experience, and I think it's my experience. I interviewed Mark Hovela, who's had a group for 10 years in Seattle. His experiences was there were no guidelines. You just get together and things just happen, and just becomes obvious what to do. And if you want, you could make a list of guidelines, but no one seems to be doing it. No one seems to be making that list of guidelines. So
I think that to start a group, you need some confidence and trust that when you step your foot in that pool or in the water, it will work out, and then the guidelines will show themselves. It's kind of a natural unfolding. I don't think you can start a group and say, okay, we are going to do like this because these are the points, and now we do like this. It's something which is already keeping some distance from the topic itself. I think you just have to make the step, trust, and then things will happen. I mean, the people will come, the guidance will come, and then you can always ask questions on the spot of what is then applicable instead of following a set of rules which you can then try to fit it in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It has to be a natural unfolding, I would say. I mean, we have been asking questions you as well, no, in the beginning.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, just kind of like it's kind of like maybe having a list of guidelines before you start, sort of like going to a meeting and watching a video. So it's something that removes you from just being there and speaking about what there is, speaking about, removes you a little bit from some authenticity, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Guidelines, videos, and so maybe that's something people can add, kind of an inquiry when starting a group like this or when running it, is you can ask yourself, is what I plan to do, does it get in the way of, does it remove some of the honesty of the moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah,
something we could all ask. I don't know. Now you have a theme. Go ahead.
It's maybe one of the basis of starting this group. I think the success might even depend on it. It will also attract the people. That if you start with this confidence and a feeling of honesty and authenticity, it will naturally roll by itself because it has no choice but people, or the universe has no choice but to respond to that.
Wow, yeah. See, there's a guideline. That's the one guideline right there.
But in any way,
you can't use it as a guideline, but it's sort of there.
Yes, I mean, just watching your whole compilation might give people already the sense of what it is that wants to take shape or what wants to manifest, and by that it might pull it out of the people, or they might respond to that by getting the confidence and doing it.
Yeah, we'll find out. Who knows? Now you have an opportunity because you're in an area. You're in Auroville. You're near Arunachala, and so teachers come through. They're near you, so they stop in, and you're you're a welcoming person, so they stop in. And you have friends who are some of these teachers, so they stop in and see you. And recently you've had several teachers. How did that?
Unmani.
Yeah, Unmani and Paul Smit, Lisa Cairns. How did that? How were they received in the group? And did anything change or?
I think it's in any way good to not to be too fixed in the structure of the meetup, the way it's set up, in order to keep the surprise and the unexpected, because we don't want people to start too comfortable and fall asleep and just come together to have a good time, which of course can all happen, to have a good time. The main thing in the meetup groups, our meetup group, is to attempt to see what we are already. And for that, it needs a certain open inquiry, which doesn't happen when it becomes too habitual. So if from time to time the whole setup is changed by asking one of the well-known non-duality teachers to sit in the front, the whole setup is changed, and there is some insecurity, some kind of oops, what will happen now? And I think that's very good to keep the edge, to keep the inquiry alive, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So they were all well received, and also interesting to see the dynamic changing, the reactions. It's very interesting.
Well, you and DJ are basically coming from the same place as any teacher. How do the teachers differ? Are they just, maybe they have more practice in expressing some of these teachings, or maybe they have a unique way that's comes across in a certain way? How would you say it's different? They're different than from the way you deliver your confessions.
The difference is that DJ and I, we don't put ourselves up as authorities. So we are one of them.
Yeah.
And because of that, they might feel it's more close to them, kind of, because it's not different. We are not different. At the same time, the non-duality teachers, they come with an authority, which at the same time might deliver the same message in another way, which might make it possible for them to receive it in another way, because you never know what is the right way. Let it come to them from all sides, from all different angles. And how do you know which angle would be the one which kind of hits home or might make some insights appear?
Yeah, so when you say they come across more as authorities, I mean, is it more their style is more authoritative? I mean, or they don't actually believe they're authorities?
No, but it's more their practice. They have been doing this for many years now, so they are used to stand in front of the audience, or they are the one who come with the answers, and other ones are asking the questions. And because of that, they have developed an easy style to deal with questions. And Unmani has a very interesting style where she is challenging people or asking people to come to the front and sit with her. So it becomes a one-to-one, which is more intimate, more scary also. And yeah, that is her style. It's also very good.
Yeah.
I mean, she has done this in so many years that she also knows how to play or how to talk to people and make them feel comfortable and confident, and at the same time go deeper into that. It's a skill also.
Yeah, so that could be a visitor like that to a group. Yeah, or someone who's in the group who's like that could be valuable. And then there's still, you don't want that person to dominate a group, so that's another problem. How do you keep somebody from dominating a group, or how do you keep a concept or an idea or someone's personal problem from dominating a group, or from being discussed for too long?
You mean you talk now about one of the members who comes
Yeah.
out with a personal problem? We don't have this problem very much. Once it occurs, to give enough space for the person to have it say, and then by answering, not to go too much into the story, but attempt to question the one who is telling the story, the narrator.
Yeah.
So in the way you answer her question, you can at the same time not, what's the word, indulge in the story itself. It's kind of to bring back again and again the clarity, the investigation, the inquiry.
I was talking to someone who's running a group, and they said that their group has a hard time doing that because they feel that they're being too authoritative by inviting this inquiry into who is the one who has the psychological concern. So they kind of let conversations go and run, and they don't stop it at all.
That's not the way to go about it, because there is no end to it. No?
So some leadership and some moderation, facilitation, whatever words you said in your video with that was just released today, a video featuring you and Lisa Cairns and conducted by Paul Smit. You said you don't really, you consider yourself a facilitator. I don't know what did you say? I don't think you said you were teachers, more facilitators, leaders.
No, a facilitator and initiator of the group. Yeah.
But at some point, you've got to keep people from getting off track. So there's got to be some.
Well, there are enough people in the group whose main focus is really the inquiry. That if I or DJ are not saying anything, so one of them will speak out, or if it goes off topic of what we are currently discussing, we can also say, let's discuss that in another meetup or after the meetup, to kind of not stop it altogether, but to keep the focus on the meetup group, because what else is the point?
Yeah, good point. Now you mentioned besides you and DJ, there are other people who share your view and probably value the group in the same way you do. And so I would call those people, in my terminology, I would say that's like your core group. And I like using, that's my term for the people that are dedicated to a group and share the same values. And certainly might disagree on certain points, but so how many people would be part of your core group?
I think we would be 8.
Wow, that's pretty big.
8 people. Yeah, people who are committed, who who are following non-duality or are passionate about it since many years. And it's actually very beautiful also to see the changes occurring in them because of coming together once every 3 weeks. It's alive.
It's alive. Who was using the term? I'm interviewing so many people now that I forget who was it who said that it's alive. Maybe it was Maya. Was it Maya who said there's
it sounds
there's
like
life?
James almost.
Yeah, maybe I think we were discussing it. Yeah. Yeah, how do you keep it alive? Because I think I brought that up in my interview there with James and Maya. How do you keep it alive, or what does it mean to be alive? I think Mark Hovela actually said it too. I asked him about it, and I haven't really publicized that interview yet. Yeah. But anyway, the question is, what does it mean to be alive? How do you keep it alive?
To keep it alive is what we usually do. We have a topic either brought up by one of the members who asks, oh, I would like the next one to be, for instance, about the mind, how the mind functions. And then DJ and I, we find small YouTube clips from different teachers on the topic of the mind or thought, or how the contracted individual projects thoughts and makes it feel separate. So last time we had YouTube clips from 3 to 5 minutes from Paul Hederman, from Unmani, from Eckhart Tolle, from Francis Lucille, and they are very short, and they kind of highlight this topic from different angles, because everybody talks about it in another way. And like this, it's not something fixed. It's not one point of view. There are different points of view which they get one after the other. And like this, it becomes interesting. It becomes thought-provoking. And I see people are responding well to that. And after that, there are always questions coming up. And
yeah, good point. It sounds like that works. Another guideline. Show short clips of YouTube videos if you want. Your picture is coming across a little blurry, and I don't know if that's just a transmission, I guess, from Skype. But
or shall I clean my camera?
No, I don't think so. No, it looks artistic.
It was clear before?
It was, yeah. Then it happens
okay.
sometimes.
Okay. What other questions do you have?
I got a lot of questions, but I'm sure everybody has your picture on their wall, so they can just look at that.
Okay, silly. Now go on.
That was silly.
That was off topic. Okay. This is off topic. Now we go. Who is saying these silly things? Let's inquire into the nature of.
Who is saying the silly things? Yeah, you're right. You're right. Silly things are being said. And they're called silly. They're not silly. They're just called silly. What are you drinking? Just tea, or what are you drinking?
Water.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're giving great information, great...
One of the things you asked was the screening process. Do you screen people at all?
I asked you that in writing, yeah.
Yeah.
And you do that, right? You do screen people.
Yeah, it's necessary. You saw what is coming to us, no?
Unbelievable. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where they're coming from. Yeah. So what do? You just reject... So Meetup provides that? I never noticed. Meetup allows you to screen a person before accepting them. I never noticed that.
This feature is there. I mean, we didn't start out like that. We had no idea what would come to us. Putting this in meetup.com, there is such a large population of young adults who are looking everywhere to improve their lives or to make life more meaningful or to have more contacts, because Indian society is still very limited, kind of constricted and limited. So when they see something with Western people, and in Auroville is well known now in India, they just want to be part of it, not at all considering the topic. They don't care about the topic, so they send all kinds of things, unrelated. And of course you can't have hundreds of people who have no interest in non-duality, because it would be impossible to do anything. There has to be at least an interest, a curiosity in the topic, otherwise what's the use?
Yeah. So you have to screen people. All right, I guess I'll have to look at my notes now. Let me go through it. This is what Mark Hovela puts on he puts out a newsletter preceding every meeting. He has a newsletter with a quotation and discusses what's going to be for the topic for his next meeting. And he includes this in every one of his newsletters. He says, here are some suggestions on the nature of dialogue from the Krishnamurti Foundation of America. So there's 1, 2, 3, about 5 or 6 things. I'll read them to you and you can make a comment. The first point is, dialogue starts from a willingness to be tentative about what you know.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's great.
So compare being tentative about what you know to not knowing what you know. I mean, there's a difference to being tentative and to saying, I really don't know what I'm talking about.
And I mean, what I understand is that if you put out something, you are willing and open to the fact that it's open for discussion, that you might not have the full picture. It's kind of very allowing for discussion to take place.
I mean, how can anyone have the full picture? I mean, what is the full picture?
Yeah, so you cannot talk from a conceptual point of view, from absoluteness, like this is it. So this point is very good in that respect.
Yeah. And the next point is, the focus of dialogue is on what is, rather than on ideas or opinions. And we kind of talked about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you responded to it. I don't know if you need to say anything else. And this next one is interesting. It says you can participate by verbally or silently sharing perceptions.
Yeah.
Silently. Do you have people that come to meetings and never say a word? But you know they understand.
Until we introduced the talking stick, there were 1 or 2 who didn't talk at all because of age. One is a man of 86 years old, and it often goes too fast.
Yeah.
But with the talking stick at the end of the meetup, we let the stick go around, and people have then all the time and quietness just to express what's there. And then he started to talk. And that's quite beautiful. There are also people who are most of the time silence, but once in a while something comes out, which comes from a place of truth.
We've only used the talking stick once or twice, and we need to use it more. So tell me how you use it. You said you use it towards the end of your meeting. How long are your meetings, and at what point will you bring in the talking stick?
Well, we usually put a talking stick in the middle, in the center, and say, anyone who wants to say something without being interrupted, just quietly, can take the stick and take all the space he wants. At the same time, you can also take the stick and hold the silence for as long as you want. If you think that the group is going into too much talking back and forwards, and something of the presence gets lost because of too much conceptualization. So people don't use the stick much during the meeting, but we have a last round where we go around with the stick, so everybody has the time to say, to give feedback, give comments, suggestions for the next meetup. This is then in the last 20 minutes or so of the meeting. Our meetings are 2 times 1 hour with a 15 minutes or half-hour break in between. So totally 2.5 hours, I would say.
Interesting. Yeah, we have to do more with the talking stick. I really like what you described. Afterward, do some people hang around for another hour or two, or did everybody sort of go home? I mean,
the meeting space we are using is used after us by another group, so we don't have much time to hang around, but usually it takes time for people to leave, because what is built up during those hours is open, it's acceptance, and people like to be there, so they don't immediately rush out. It's actually very nice.
Yeah, you're meeting about every 2 weeks, or what?
Every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't want to leave, probably.
Once in a while, we also show a movie, like we had The Matrix. At least we had one meetup about that, The Matrix. We showed, which other movies did we show? The Sea Who Thinks, Kumare.
Yeah.
This is actually not then during the meetup. We have then this scheduled away from the meetup in the kind of home cinema of Didier and Cecilia.
Now, where are your meetings, your actual meetups held? Are they held at DJ's home, or someone else, or your home, or?
No. We found out actually that to meet in a neutral place facilitates the meetings better. So we've.
Yeah, go ahead. I was reading somewhere that, and I forget where. Again, I'm collecting so much information, that it's best to meet in a neutral place rather than a home.
Yeah, I think I wrote it to you in one of the.
You wrote it to me? Okay.
We found out that if it's in your own home, we did it once or twice in my place, is that there is then the automatic habit to want to make people comfortable. So you're busy with pillows and chairs and providing tea and biscuits and Cointreau and all kinds of goodies, which is of course very nice. But if it's in a neutral place, everybody is just equal and you sit down and the meeting starts, and it's less fuss around it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who wants Cointreau served to them?
Nobody.
No. Do you guys enjoy drinks when you're meeting, or?
The place we are is part of a guest house, so we just drink water there.
All right.
I mean, if we meet people in our house, there might be a bottle of wine being opened.
Yeah. Yeah,
this might happen.
I can see the point of meeting in a neutral place. There's a guideline, another guideline, meet in a neutral place.
Well, if you're only a few, it makes no sense. Better start in your home and see how it develops.
Yeah. Mark Hovela meets at a food court in a mall. We've been meeting there for years, 10 years. We meet, in neutral places, and we have met at taverns or restaurants. So yeah.
What I notice also that if there is too much disturbance from people coming and going or noise, it's also taking away some focus on the meeting. So relative quietness would be facilitating to build up an atmosphere.
My experience is a little different. I've found that some meetings at taverns have been really good ones for some reason. I think what I notice is that when there's some distraction, you have to focus more on everyone. I think that makes up for it. That's been my observation. You got to meet
Okay.
at more bars, and find out. You got to go. Are there many taverns near you, or is there a local
Well,
Auroville bar where everybody drinks and probably not?
not really. We had the meetup with Unmani on top of a hotel, where it was too noisy to really understand each other. So that was definitely not a good place.
So another suggestion from the Krishnamurti Foundation says dialogue is letting the issue unfold in affection and mutual respect. Letting the issue unfold in affection and mutual respect. So
That sounds very sensible.
yeah, I guess that comes out of all the other points that were mentioned, that would kind of naturally happen.
It might not always be the case in a non-dual meetup group, because the resistances of the person might come out with anger or confusion, because the identity gets questioned, no? So it's a very nice rule, and it's maybe good to put it out so you can kind of bring it back. I think it's quite a good idea. I think I will print it out and hand it out to everybody.
Yeah, I have to. I was going to do all these interviews and then put them out at the same time as a package.
Okay.
So that's why I haven't put out Marco Villa's yet. But now I'm thinking maybe I should just let them all go one at a time.
Or put them all under one heading, meetup groups, videos, so people can watch them one by one as they are starting their own groups.
I'll see on YouTube what I can do, is package them under starting your own meetup group.
Yeah, I think that's great. And then put some writings with it.
Put writings with it. Yeah, well, yeah, right.
How many meetup groups do you have already wanting to start? How many
I'm talking tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, I'm talking to a gentleman in Australia who's very serious about starting one in Sydney. We have a phone call tomorrow. We're going to talk. And Cheryl Abram is still working on her group. She's near Washington, D.C. Who else? There's two gentlemen in France, south of France, Sarette, France. I think DJ was interested in connecting with them, so they're very serious. And there's a woman, I think Arlene. I don't know if Arlene's in San Francisco, but I think yeah. And there are a couple of others.
Wow.
Some are starting their groups as a result of my writing on Facebook, basically bothering people to start these groups. Some are starting them out of that, and others have started them independently on their own. But they are interested in the kind of stuff that's coming forward in these interviews. So yeah, a good handful of groups, but I think it'll grow. People will.
I think people have to get used to it. I remember when you first told me about it, I couldn't really place it or understand what would be the dynamics. So if it gets more known what is really meant with a meetup group, it might attract more interest, because it's actually a very beautiful way of meeting people in this fashion of open inquiry.
So when we first talked about it, I told you about my group. So tell me what your reaction was. At first you said you didn't quite get it. So what made you get it?
By going to your meetup group site.
Oh, so yeah.
I mean, I think you told me about it when you were in Amsterdam, no?
Probably,
you kind of refer to it.
Yeah.
And I think it was only much later that you said, why don't you start your own group? I think 1 year later or so. So then I started to look at your meetup group from Halifax. And I think I needed a bit more prodding.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly took off. Kind of, it made sense. It was also at that time, like James was saying, or you were saying about James, the wish to share with people. He came back from India, I think, and then there was this. Yeah, he wanted to share. That's. You don't start it when you want to become a leader, because then you put yourself up on Facebook and start sessions and all that. Meetup group is more you want to share what's there, which is obvious already there, and it's no big deal. Just have to see it, the recognition. And for that, you don't need a teacher. You need a friend, maybe.
Yeah. Did I just say Was that an unenlightened thing to do? Did I just do something that wasn't enlightened?
No, I was just wondering, probably what I'm saying is so screwed up that you have to say, to get started again.
No, I thought you think that I'm so screwed up because I said, We both think each other's screwed up. I don't think you're screwed up. But you think you are and I think I am.
No.
But let's not tell anyone that.
Yeah, don't say anything.
Keep fooling everybody.
We do anyway.
So another statement here, and again, I think it's something we cover in one of these suggestions. When a reaction arises, neither suppress it nor defend it, but suspend it in the mind and in the group, keeping it constantly available for observation and questioning when a reaction arises. Like we just had a reaction arise. It was I feel like I'm messing up. So we probably exaggerated it.
Yeah, I did.
For humor. But
for you.
But
for
not suppress it, not suppress it and try to cover it.
Yeah, even make it bigger by humor. Why not?
Yeah, and but keep it available for observation and questioning, which I think.
Yeah.
So that's a good guideline.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you find that happening? Do you think of examples where that happens?
Reactions are coming up?
Yeah, and instead of suppressing it, instead of defending it, just leave it there and maybe you
mean personally or in the meetup group?
Well, whether it's personally or someone else in the meetup, anyone in the meetup group. I'm trying to think too, but.
Yeah. I'm just trying to come up with some instances. No, go on.
Maybe if we can't think of any instant where maybe all the reactions are suppressed and defended. Maybe.
Oh yeah, what I just wanted to say is that if the reactions are not seen to be reactions and contractions, it's probably conceptualized and it's put out in a strong way, and then it's more difficult to suspend it and look at it and hold it. This might easily happen, of course. It's a nice kind of goal to go towards, to become more aware of that, and it's maybe also good then to have it in writing. And
yeah, I think it's not something I've ever really thought of, and so maybe that's one of all these points. A lot of them seem obvious, but that one can use some attention.
Because often when people come out with strong reactions in the meetings, the load and the reaction itself is not questioned. It's the words which come out, and there is then the attention. Attention is on the words, and the reactions are on the words, but not on where it came from. Maybe there is a reaction of fear, and then the words come out, which don't say "I'm afraid," but they kind of project it. So then the discussion goes about the words which are said, but not about the initial reaction. I don't know if that makes sense. So this is actually a very good point.
And it's a good topic to build a meetup on that theme. You know, to look at that. You can do a whole meetup on that.
Yeah.
That's good. And then the last one on this list says, dialogue is being together and seeing together in an unfolding relationship. And you said earlier that people don't want to leave the meeting at the end because they're experiencing that, this being together, this seeing together, this relationship.
Yeah,
that's unfolding.
It's just describing what's happening. It's not something to strive for. It's describing what's happening already in the meetup groups. It must be the same in your meetup group, no?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
People want to kind of hang on and talk.
We have most of the people that come have been or repeat people. You know, we get a couple of new people each time, and I think people would come every week if we had meetings every week.
Yeah.
Right now, for about 9 weeks in a row, we met every week.
You did?
As an
wow.
Experience, yeah. And we got people every week. Got 12, 15 people every week, and now we're back to every 2 weeks. So we meet tonight. We meet in a few hours again. A couple of people are going to lead a meditation.
So how do you keep your groups from interesting and alive? What do you do?
We have a theme for every meetup, and we have different main facilitators for every meetup. Now, I don't know if that's what keeps it alive or not. And I never really thought about it. I think what keeps it alive is that the people are alive. You know, when people come to the meetup, they know they're going to be with people that hopefully have, carry, a very light burden, if any burden at all. So and in that way they feel alive. They know they're not going to be judged. They know they're not going to, say, try reading this. You got to read this. You got to do that. So there's a lightness there, and that lightness is aliveness. So I think that's where the aliveness comes, not so much from what's planned through the evening.
But you have a kind of theme for the evening, like for instance today. What kind of theme do you have?
It's a meditation. We have a couple of very experienced meditation teachers. So Lynn Fraser's one, and she's going to do a guided meditation. And Mandy LaBelle, who's done the radio show with me, she does an entirely different kind of meditation. And so they'll each take a half hour or so. And in the beginning, I think we'll just talk about meditation and its value in non-duality. Do you have to meditate, and what is meditation? And just give people a chance to ask questions and to talk. That'll be our evening, and we have a break. We usually go for 2 hours straight, then take a long break. After the break, a lot of people go home, but also you'll have some people stick around. So. And so
it can go on to 3 hours or something.
It can go on 3 hours, and then near the last half hour, we'll talk about just anything. Anything. We could chant. Someone might sing.
Okay.
It could just be anything. That's the nature of our meeting. And our core group also is about 8 people, and I find that's a lot.
It's a lot, huh?
People.
So do you often bring the focus on self-inquiry?
Yeah, I would say all the time. I think that's the constant.
That's the constant. Yeah.
That's the constant. Everything, whenever there's a topic that's talked about,
yeah,
it's always leading to that.
Yeah.
And someone will bring that up.
The recognition of what we are already.
Yeah, or taking a stand in awareness.
Yeah.
That'll be brought up in one way or another.
Yeah.
What else do we need to talk about? How important, I want to know, you mentioned someone can pick up the talking stick and just be silent. So do you have time? How do you? I know your meetings don't have much structure, but you got to have some structure. It starts at a certain time, it ends at a certain time. What else goes on? That's happens all the time. Anything?
The first part of the meeting, we have more, maybe more focus on questioning and answers about the topic.
I mean, before that, do you like welcome the people? Do you have any announcements? Do you have introductions, introduce new people, or?
When there are new peoples, we ask them their name and tell them where they're from. Yeah. Most of the time, there are all people who know each other.
Yeah.
So people come in and they're happy to see each other. They greet each other, hug each other, and then at one point we begin.
Okay.
It's actually quite informal. It's also because most people from the core group, they are Aurovilleans. They live in Auroville, so we know them. They are friends. And we meet them also during the week. You know, we greet each other on the road or things like that. It's not like that. It's we're quite close in a way.
I just want to get off topic and talk about Auroville for a second. So, and I've never been there. Do you spend most of your time in Auroville? Now you work. Is your pottery outside Auroville?
No, it's all in Auroville. Auroville has roughly, you could say, a diameter of 10 kilometers.
Okay.
And in that, everything appears. I mean, Auroville, all the schools, the businesses, there must be 125 small units in Auroville. There are maybe 10 schools, there's forest, farms, cultural buildings, cinema, theater. This is all within Auroville. So
10 kilometers, what's the area? I mean, 10 kilometers is the widest point?
No, if you have a circle, let's say, roughly.
Yeah. Oh, the circumference?
No, and then it's the diameter is 10.
Yeah. But it's 10 kilometers.
Yes, sort of. You know, it's some places more wide and more, and it's just a rough idea because I could be off, but more or less.
So it would take a long walk. It would be a long walk to walk all around. It would take you all day or more.
And I'm not sure if you manage. If I walk around just around our community, which is Gaia, I don't know how many communities we have, and then the whole circumference.
Do you know everybody? How many people? A couple thousand people live there, or more?
2,300, 2,500. I don't know everybody.
No.
Because some people you don't meet much because they have another routine and they're in another part of Auroville. They eat in different places. So some people I never see, or only once every year, or other people I see every day. It's like a small city.
One of your jobs in Auroville is to welcome newcomers and orient them to everything about
Auroville. Yeah, and after 30 years, I still discover every time new things.
Yeah, wow.
New places I've never been, or people who talk, I've never heard them talk before. Like yesterday, we had a newcomer program, somebody talking on education, Jean-Yves. Very interesting, but I never talked with him. He lives in Auroville since 20 years, I think.
Yeah. Now, are these newcomers, are they people that are going to move there? Or live there?
They live here already. They've been here as a guest mostly for a few months and kind of like the place or like the ideals or the atmosphere. They feel they want to move here, maybe to give their life and their work.
Now,
and
to live there,
and then,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So then they start a newcomers process.
Now,
And
that's
this is
a process.
a year. Yeah, it's a process of 1 year to see if your ideas which you had as a guest are working out. Can you live in this climate? Can you find a place to live? Can you find a place to work? And if it all goes harmoniously, you naturally become an Aurovillean. So there is this 1 year to sort this out.
So you have to be a guest. That might take a few months, and then a year to see if you're really meant for it. So it could be a year and a half before you're made an Aurovillean. Do retired people go there at all? Is it younger people or all ages?
Well, the idea is that when you come to Auroville, you work. So if people come to retire, they will not be accepted because it would become... But then there are people who are 80 years old and still working. It doesn't mean that once you're 65, you can't come. It means that you cannot come here because you want to kind of hang in your hammock all day and...
Darn it. Well, what kind of work could I do? I mean, I don't know. If I came out here, what kind of work?
Shall we go back to meetup group?
All right, forget it. Did we get off this topic? I could start a meetup group. You know me, I like to dream.
Of course, of course.
Are you rejecting me from Auroville? I do want to visit.
At the moment, it's maybe 30 degrees, Jerry, and it's still winter.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
All right, I have some standard questions. I think I've asked like all of them. Do you have differences? Like your core group, it's about 8 people.
Yeah.
So sorry we got off track there, but it interests me.
If there are differences, there are small differences, and it almost divides the gender, like male, female.
Yeah.
That the male tend to be more talkative and more in the concepts, while the women tend to veer more towards more quietness and contemplation. This is not that there are issues, because that's why we have, before the break, more talking and trying to understand, and after the break, more sensing. Sometimes we have a guided meditation or an exercise. Oh yeah, we often use also exercises from Douglas Harding.
Yeah.
And we had once an exercise from Greg Good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the next meetup, one of the core group members is going to do another one from Greg Good exercise.
Oh, good.
Which is, it's nice to do.
So how do the members like it, other than people in your core group, the other members, how do they like it? I mean, are they benefiting? Is their perception of things changing?
Yeah, sometimes you, after or even during the meetup, something becomes clear. And then they're so happy, you know, they write emails, this happened, that happened, or it's mainly by emails that the core group members or other ones, they are responding and telling that things have kind of moved in a way, or they have insights, and then the next time you meet one of them on the road, or the one who said something suddenly became clear, he looked so much more light and so much more radiant. It's kind of beautiful to see. It's really, something can block you because there is a wrong perception, a wrong understanding of something, and then when through the meetup group something gets cleared up, it's like there is more space and more openness. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
You see that
good.
happening also in your group?
I suppose. I don't know. I suppose. I mean,
They don't write to you personal emails to say what's
sometimes.
going on?
Sometimes, yeah, there are some people. Yeah, yeah. I suppose that's happening. Yeah, yeah. It is actually. Yeah, people
In,
will talk to us or meet with us.
it's actually because of your question, in your questionnaire, that I started to reflect on it. I said, yeah, shit, it's true.
Yeah, yeah, really.
In quite some members, if I see from the beginning to now, there is more openness, more lightness,
Yeah,
more ease in their being, in the way they
yeah,
welcome life.
yeah.
So thank you
It's
for raising this
definitely.
question.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're welcome. Thanks for your response. What else? I mailed you a bunch of questions. I don't know, anything come to mind? There's all kinds of them. I think I asked a lot of them. I asked a lot of them. So for the people who want guidelines, I think there's a lot of guidelines in this. They can pick it out for themselves, and
Yeah.
maybe I'll, write some of them down. But I think it's there.
Yeah, I think just showing these videos, these interviews on the meetup is already a lot of material.
I think there's a lot. I still got people. There's a guy, gentleman named David Zinn, and he's had a meetup group for over 10 years. It's called Open Awareness. He has a meetup. It's called Open Awareness. He's in, can't think where he is, North Carolina or something. But yeah, so I'm going to talk to him.
And then DJ, you
DJ.
might interview later when he comes
Yeah.
back from Germany.
Yeah.
He is more articulate and has more information to share. So he might come up with more interesting things to
everyone will
say.
have their own angle,
Yeah.
It's like one big meetup group getting these people. Like everyone, in a way, it's the same thing, but it's said in different ways. Yeah, DJ wrote me some beautiful stuff. I won't bother reading it here, but I'll include it in my write-up. So when I finish this project, or at some point, I'll just put up all the videos, and there's writings with it. People answered questions, so I'll have both. People can start their own groups, and then then we can travel around the world visiting all these groups. With one in France, one in Australia, Auroville. I don't think I'm welcome in Auroville. Can I come? When I said I want to live there and retire and sit in a hammock, I got a vibe. You don't want me in Auroville.
DJ. Of course you're welcome.
The Aurovillians hate
Jerry.
me. Like, what's going on out there?
My hammock is on my terrace, Jerry. You can always hang on in there.
Freaking out.
No
here.
problem.
Auroville doesn't like me. Okay. All right. So what time is it there? Like 8 o'clock or?
Now it's 9 o'clock, and I see we are already talking for over an hour. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. No, this was great. You gave a lot of valuable information with Anamika.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry. And you can stop the recording now.
I could. Let me see. Stop. Looks like it stopped. Now, where is it? Okay, hope it came out. I recorded an audio too, so.